Hello everyone, my name is Udit Sharma and welcome to lecture 3 of Demystifying VRC for CAT exam. So, brief about me. You can look at the screen while I discuss what we'll do in this session. Basically, today our topic is going to be philosophy and ethics. So, I'll give you a brief introduction about these two topics. Uh, I'll talk about major ideas, eras, thinkers. Then, what I'll do is I'm gonna uh, show you some passages that I generated using ChatGPT. I don't think so we're gonna be reading them together, but what we'll do is I'll also show you how to use ChatGPT specifically for making good passages and covering the whole topic holistically and making sure that you do not leave things, thinkers, eras, ideas, whatever out of your preparation, and you have a gist and introduction to most of them, and you have a feel of the exam or feel of the topic or feel of how the passage is going to be. So yeah, so we'll dive straight into it. I want to keep the video short. I usually forget to tell this, but please watch at 1.5x if you feel I am speaking slowly. Do not waste time watching videos again and again. And do make notes. I'll definitely attach all the documents and files in the description, but make notes, watch at 1.5x, and waste as less time as possible. So, yeah, first of all, today, as I said, we're going to be studying philosophy and ethics, and we'll begin with philosophy. So, what is philosophy? Here you can see a very small explanation to the same, that it's like a child. It's the a practice of asking questions about different and myriad topics regarding world, life, death, spirituality, etc., etc. And as it said, goes beyond the surface to not just answer but understand. So you usually dig deeper in philosophy. Yeah, right. So there is a very small anecdote, an Indian anecdote of what philosophy exactly is. So there was once a group of blind men, and they were asked to, touch an object, which was typically an elephant. So one guy touched the trunk, and he said, "It's a thick snake." Other felt the leg and said, "It's a sturdy pillar." The other touched the ear and thought it was like a fan, ancient fans. So the fourth one, he touched the tail, and thought it was a rope, because a typical elephant with a, yeah, this thing, he touched the tail and thought it was a rope. And finally, a man touched the side of an elephant and thought it was a wall. So you can see what basically this tells is, if we inspect different aspects of a thing, we take the interpretation to be different. And this is what a very basic introduction to Indian philosophy, for example, is that the the truth is different for different people, and hence everybody has his own interpretation of truth, what is correct or what is wrong or what is even partially correct. And this is typically what is known as anekantvad, kantvad, or sayavad in Jainism. So this is just an introduction, just to make you feel of what philosophy exactly is. So this was one of the introduction to ancient Indian philosophy. But sadly, I don't know, we still linger over the European fetishism, that mostly CAT focuses upon Western philosophical ideas, or tries to compare them. Western philosophical ideas tries to compare them with Oriental civilizations, which is like Eastern civilization, like India, Japan, or South East Asia, etc., or even ancient civilizations such as Mayan civilization or civilizations, Inca civilization in South America. So it either tries to compare or gives a topic on typically Western philosophy. So that's what we are going to structure it. Our main focus is going to be Western philosophy, and the document also has other types of philosophy that you can read, but I will be teaching Western philosophy and a few other important aspects. So let's dive straight into it. So basically, philosophy has been divided into chronological aspects, like right from the age, as it's written over here. We'll go chronologically towards the modern era, and every era has a different type of thinking. And I'll not be stressing much upon it, but I'll try to explain everything in brief. You should definitely read the document on your own, and then I'll show you how to practice. So Socrates was a philosopher. So pre-Socrates time there was something known as naturalism. So what do you mean by naturalism? So what was it all about? Was that early thinkers wanted to explain the world using reason and observation instead of myths about gods? Because say earlier they were gods, and it was thought that they came because of fear of unknown. Gods came because of fear of unknown, or for desiring a better future or something like that. So so as to move away from it, there were earlier thinkers who became gave the concept of naturalism and said that things are based on reason and observation. This was the basis of philosophy in Western. So you have some thinkers. I'll not explain each, but say Thales was one of the prominent thinkers. He said like water was the basic building block of everything. So he moved away from you can see he moved away from sorry my he moved away from basic building blocks such as spirit and everything, and he talked about water as the basic building block for everything. So metaphysical aspects को उसने त्याग दिया, and उसने बोला कि water was the basic building block that is it comprises our body, world, everything, and hence an example is there modern science searches for water on other planet because it's essential for life. So this theory is also inherently based on Thales. Then you can read other thinkers as well. So what they if you go through them, you will find out that they basically and typically stress upon natural aspects and how nature and everything is used to explain the world. Then we come across what is known as a post like 5th century sophism and ethical relativism. So what is sophism? Sophists thought that truth and morality depend upon person or cultural perspective. So there is no one absolute truth, no one absolute truth. My truth can be different from your truth, can be different from my friend's truth, and is certainly different from my ex-crush's truth. So this is definitely gonna be different for everybody, and that's what sophists say. And that is what ethical relativism is. That ethic is relative. इसी को in Jainism we call as Sayavad or Anikantvad. That it is what we read about the elephant earlier. This is what exactly it is. For example, you can see the thinkers over here. Man is the measure of all things, as said by Protagoras. Goras. What this means is that truth depends on the view of the person. A very small example is that Oriental cultures, like these Eastern cultures, they consider nature and man harmony, whereas Western cultures often see nature as something to be used by man. Or there are certain cultures which will be vegetarian and believe that even hurting a small animal is wrong, but there will be certain cultures which will be non-vegetarian. So these are relatives, and both of them define or believe in their truths. Yeah, this is even given over here. Then we come to the era of classical philosophy, where you saw thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, and for example, it's given over here. Like Platonism, it says that physical world is imperfect and real truth exists in the invisible world. So finding the latent, that is hidden inside. An example is given here. For example, drawing a circle is never perfect, but the idea of perfect circle exists in our mind. For example, I'll draw a circle like this. You will draw nearly perfect, but none of them are perfect. But we know that we have to go towards perfection. So even though you might want the world to believe in realism, pragmatism, but our goal should be idealism, correct? And then we talk about Aristotelianism, which is basically given by thinker Aristotle. This is often there in a lot of our cat mocks. He said that he based on observation the world and using reason to understand it. uh, this part we'll also read in ethics, but he said that happiness comes from balanced drive, golden mean. What is referred to as golden mean, that neither excessive spiritualism nor excessive materialism nor excessive hedonism. मतलब पार्टी भी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं करनी, पढ़ाई भी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं करनी, खेल कूद भी बहुत ज्यादा नहीं करना, everything should be balanced. In Buddhism also this is known as middle path. Okay, then we have something known as Hellenistic age. So Hellenistic age, it's not exactly a philosophy, but it's an age where the philosophy was fought to certainly on the name of Helen of Greece and Troy, or Troy, depends upon which side you come from. So there was this thinker known as Epicurus, and he gave Epicureanism is not he didn't give it, but we name his thoughts as Epicureanism. And he basically talked about, how to control greed, what exactly is happiness. And here you can see happiness come from avoiding pain and living simply. Living simply is not being materialistic. आजकल जो मिनिमलिस्ट है, that is basically, oh sorry, yeah, minimalist, that is basically a derivation of Epicureanism. uh, an RC passage can come relating Epicureanism with minimalist attitude. You can also make one on your own using ChatGPT. That I'll show it to you. Okay. Then we have cynicism, which says that live naturally and reject material. So all the kind of same kind of thoughts. हम बोलते हैं ना, he is a cynical man, और cynicism basically is sage, sadhu, vanvas, going to the forest and giving up upon everything, and sitting there peacefully. That exactly what is cynicism. Then we have stoicism. An RC, I guess, has come upon stoicism, and it is very important. Basically, stoicism says that your control, when you don't crave about things which are out of your control, इसकी only focus upon what is in your control and accept the rest calmly. जो कृष्ण ने कहा था कि कर्म करो, फल की चिंता मत करो, because कर्म is in your control and फल is not. So that is what exactly this is. Yeah, this has happened to a lot of weddings that we have attended. If it rains on the wedding day, you simply go inside and eat food. So that's what. Don't crave about things which are beyond your control. It will not help. Then we come to medieval philosophy. This is typically, when Christian philosophy or the Ten Commandments, took precedence, and the philosophy was derived from religion. This is also religious amalgamation of philosophy happened in this era. That religion became a basis of philosophy, and a lot of philosophical ideas were, you know, inspired by one or many books that were religious. And in this era, basically philosophy also became rigid. For example, Christian Neo-Platonism. So we know Plato, as we just studied earlier, right? Yeah, here Plato. He said the world is imperfect and truth is hidden. The truth is actually hidden somewhere. It's not out there, and you have to find it, dig it. So this is what Christian Neoplatonism combined Plato's ideas with Christian beliefs, saying soul is on a journey to find God. So soul is kind of hidden and latent, and in this imperfect world, soul is on a journey to find God because God is seen as a symbol of perfection. So this is how they marry Platonism and Christian ideology. For example, is given here. Augustine thought that true happiness comes from loving God and not earthly things. The earthly things are some what are visible or materialistic, and true happiness is loving God. मतलब जैसे मीराबाई थी in India, and her love for Krishna made her happy. You can see this also stresses upon individual relation of person with God. Then we have something known as scholasticism. अब ये तो आपको बताऊं ना, when you were kids there were scholastic awards given to intelligent, smart and logical people who used to score good. So that's basically what it is. Use reason and logic to explore religious questions. For example, an example is given here. Aquinas argued that we can figure out moral rules like not harming others by using reason and observing nature. Uh, for example, in Jainism also, we said people used to walk bare feet so that they don't kill even an ant, because they consider everything has a soul. And if everything has a soul, everything will feel the pain. And since karma is also in play, if you make somebody else feel pain, you will feel pain later. So this is marrying logic with religion. Yeah, so now we come to the age of Renaissance and early modern philosophy. Renaissance is that period of Europe when Europe actually broke away from the shackles of, I would say, narrowistic religion, or the religion controlling every aspect of life and church being the supreme in every case. And when they broke from it, you would have heard about Galileo, you would have heard about Copernicus, and how they were treated by the church when they used science to explain things which were written differently vis-a-vis the Bible. So this is that period, and it was the birth of modern philosophy. This is what led to in reality, you can say industrialization, globalize, globalization much later on, but a spread of democracy, idea of liberty, fraternity. Or this is the genesis of it. So this is from 14th to 18th century, and there are different thoughts in it. Humanism is that focus on human achievements and reason instead of solely relying on religion. So you can see it is the birth of individualism, and this the true character of today's Western philosophy. Today's Western philosophy talks about individualism, which was totally different from Eastern or Oriental cultures. Yeah. We in India, specifically in the Northeast area, or even in Southeast Asia, or even in South India, we talk about collectivism or social norms or society. So this is different from individualism. And this humanism is very different from the humanism that is there in India. Please do not confuse it with it. That humanism which was given by, I guess, Rabindranath Tagore, M.K. Gandhi, and even Deen Dayal Upadhyay. That was integral humanism. That says that that is a different concept altogether. Do not confuse it over here. This humanism means that human focus, one individual focus, human achievements, reason, rather than religion. For example, Leonardo DiCaprio was a very good example of this. He explored human creativity and science through Renaissance. Copernicus is a very good example. But these were people who were often persecuted as well. Then you know what is empiricism is fact or positivism भी जिसको बोल देते हैं, but that is little different, but facts oriented. That is all knowledge comes from experience and observation. So हम बोलते हैं ना empirical research, empirically proven in research. That means that you have observed something, you have collected data, and then you are making some observation on it. So evidence based policy making, for example, in today's term, is a typical example of empiricism. So somebody can say that how government can use evidence to make policy. For example, evidence on number of people using mobile internet, and whether they are whether we need to install a new tower at a particular area. So this is evidence-based policy making. Now CAT can, amalgamate these two ideas and present you with a topic. And you can also do it using ChatGPT. A very good example is there: a child learns fire is hot by touching it, not by just by being told. So we okay, wait. Then comes rationalism. Rationalism is basically irrational thing or thing which cannot be explained, which cannot be taught, or which cannot be, thought with reason. Unko we have to negate. Knowledge comes from reason and logical thinking. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now there were many philosophers who say 2 plus 2 does not make 4, it makes 22. Now this is a very romantic way of thinking about it. It's not a rational way of. So this is rational thought that nahi yaar 2 plus 2 is 4. So do not think ki if you are 2 plus 2 people, you can take a group of 20 because you think you are 22, pid jaoge. That is what rationalism is. Ki 2 plus 2 is 4, it's not 22. Famous, most famous. This thing is, no, we keep hearing this. I think, therefore I am. He says that human or even say an individual is there and he exists because he can think. If you make a person stop thinking, then he loses all his quality of a person. And even if you, in the present context, for example, we say that AI is becoming sentinel. Sentinel, matlab it is getting feelings. It is about to think on its own. And then we, when this happens, we say that it will become human-like, more humane. So this exactly stems from the rational thought that of Descartes, which says that I think, therefore I am. So Cat can give you a passage combining sentinelity in AI and Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Or you can make it using Chat GPT. Then let's come to 17th to 19th century. This was a period when colonialism was at its peak. So many thoughts came here to either justify colonialism or speak against colonialism, or and also this was also a time when there was a shift from monarchy and I would say despotic regimes to democracy, liberty, fraternity. So this was also a period where a lot of thoughts came about it. For example, enlightenment and political philosophy. During this period there are two theories: social contract theory, very very hopes, very important theory. Those of you who have read French Revolution would know about this. it says that basically, say today there is a government, okay, and then there is public. He says there is an agreement between government and public, that public will give up some of their freedoms and rights, so that government can provide political order, stability, the freedom from violence, and a kind of governance, good governance to the people. So there is this is a contract. So anyone fails, the contract will break, and there will be a revolution, regime change, revolt, whatever that you see in these countries with poor governance. So this is what happens. So here he says that why we agree to form government and follow laws. इसके पीछे reason दिया है. Because you follow a law because you realize that okay, first तो एक तो ये है कि पुलिस के डंडे पड़ेंगे. But when we read, there is this concept of moral relativism, or sorry, not moral relativism, uh, six stages of ethical development or moral development by Kohlberg, something like that. So there is we say why we, if we ask ourselves why we follow the laws, the very childish stage or the first stage is that reward punishment. That is, it basically happens because हमें पुलिस के डंडे पड़ेंगे. But if you ask a very learned person or an intellectual that why actually do people follow laws, it is because say you don't follow law, then everybody won't follow law. Then there will be lawlessness. Somebody will come and snatch your food. Somebody will come and snatch your shirt. There will be mass poverty. There will be violence. There will be death, and there will be genocide. So this is actually the reason why you follow law. So hence, this is what social contract theory is all about. Then we move to utilitarianism, which was given by, I guess, John Mill, Bentham Mill. Yeah, John Mill basically gave utilitarianism, and what it basically says is that best action is the one which creates most happiness for most people. Matlab, we say right Pareto optimality kind of a thing where you cannot do anything which will make somebody better off without making some other person worse off. So best action is one जिसमें सब खुश हैं. सब सबसे ज्यादा खुश नहीं है, but everybody is happy, and this is the maximum benefit you can get. Now you cannot move to any other place without making somebody else unhappy. So that is utilitarian. These theories, now this utilitarianism will repeat in ethics also. It's actually an ethical theory, but this is a part of philosophy because this is how you basically think and do. You're not talking about life, or when you're talking about making choice. For example, a lot of you will be in dilemma of the career choice you need to make. So there you try to balance your passion and your love with your family's need, with the need of the society. So that is what utilitarianism is. When you try to balance this is in an individual person feeling, but when we are talking about philosophy, this is what utilitarian is in philosophy. So you take a best action. You will try to create happiness for most people. But in governance, it has a different meaning altogether, and in ethics, it has a different meaning altogether. Uh, then we come to modernism. So this is also an era, and we have different thinkers as I have listed below. But what basically modernism meant was, it was, you can say, a kind of reaction to romanticism, but we'll talk about it later. Wait. So modernism basically embraces progress, science, and new ways of thinking. So it was basically, you can call it again a scientific movement where it focused on rationality and rejection of our old and archaic traditions. रूढ़िवाद जिसको हम बोलते हैं, रूढ़िवाद is in English, रूढ़िवाद translates into orthodoxy, को it rejects. And fo- so basically this was what modernism was all about, and it is typical today's modern thinking. क्या बोलते हैं, individualism, cosmopolitanism, ये सब all stems out of modernism. As you can see, personal experience, how individuals understand the world. But there was one thing about modernism, that it focused on universality, which means that say I give a theory, so my aim will be to make it a universal theory. It is applicable in every sphere, everywhere, because it has to be fact based, and facts remain same everywhere. So that's why I more stress upon creating universal theory. So you have certain examples. You can this one. Cat passage has come upon him, I guess, sometime in the past, or in some of the mocks I read it. But Sigmund Freud is a very good thinker in this, and he said that I guess this has come in Zat or something. He explored the unconscious mind and how it shapes behavior. So, what do you mean by unconscious mind? latent. Again, you remember hidden mind, latent, which we are subconscious, which we are not aware of. And he said that how we can use this to find about a person, his characteristics, his behavior. This is more of psychology, but also, yeah, now I remember it. I guess it was Azrin Zat only passage on this. So you try to explore inner thoughts and feelings in this as it's written. Then you have Albert Einstein, showcase how science could change our understanding of time and space. This is also modernist thinking. In architecture also there is modernist thinking. For example, earlier we used to have grand architectures. If you have seen, for example, let me compare English and Western ideas only. So you have Victorian age of architecture where you saw grand buildings, Victoria Memorial in, for example, Kolkata, or even Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminal which was built. So these are grand buildings. They have certain things which look beautiful. They look very expansive, I would say, but they are not inherently useful. So modernist was something different from it. It was like making simplicity and focusing on functionality. Like if I can have say grand minars, instead of it, if I can have more access to the room or somewhere, or have more number of doors because they are functional, they will help me achieve something. For example, better crowd management. So I will focus on that. So this is what modernist was. Then in 19th century there was German idealism and existentialism. Okay, so we'll just read it. German idealism is reality depends upon how our mind shape it, and history progresses through conflicts and resolution. And they took it damn seriously. So reality, basically, what it says is that reality is different for everybody, and the more we focus upon our reality, the more it strengthens, and that's how it becomes real for us. Hegel was one of the thinkers. He said that Hegel thought that societies improve over time by solving problems like abolition of slavery. So earlier there was a reality that okay, white is the supreme race, blacks are not the supreme race, and hence slavery is allowed. And it was believed. Many people who were ethical at that point of time also believed them to be believed it to be a correct thing. But over time, you saw that there was a movement against slavery, and how slavery is wrong, how racism is wrong, and now it's totally against. And same in India, you can say about the caste system. So that doesn't mean that a person who was in say 15th century or 13th century having slaves, he would be totally unethical from today's perspective, but not from that perspective, because that at that point of time reality was dependent on the how mind shaped it and collective minds of the society specifically. And the best example is Germany itself. In Nazi, German population as a whole also felt that Holocaust was ethical. If not ethical, it was necessary, and it was a reality, and they thought of it. But today, even saying "Hail Hitler" is uh, inviting a prison van or a policeman to you and throwing you in prison. So it's equivalent to that. Then we have existentialism, which means life doesn't come with built-in meaning. So it is up to us to create our own purpose. Matlab, what is the purpose of your existence? Why have you been born on this earth? Why did you win the first race? You would have understood what I mean. So there is a reason why. So we have to create our own purpose. For example, there was this quotation, I guess, by Plato or Aristotle. I don't remember, but unexamined life is not worth living. So what does that exactly mean? Matlab, if you have not examined yourself or you found your purpose, then there is no meaning in living the life. Sartre was a thinker, and he said that you decide what kind of person you want to be, even if it is hard. So a lot of people, take up NGO, working in NGO as a career decision. Now that might not be the most sound career decision, but they take that choice, and they have a purpose that is driving them. Or a lot of people, take some kind of activism. So these are, for example, this is a very brief about what existentialism is. Now contemporary means today. आज की डेट में, आज मतलब नॉट एग्जैक्टली टुडे बट मतलब 100 years, and contemporary usually means right now. So what is this? This is about, we are talking about contemporary philosophy. So this we have from 20th century to present, that is from 20th century will be 1900 से लेके अभी तक. So and the best way to remember these things is what happened in during this period: world wars, end of imperialism or and colonialism, globalization, AI and technology. So उतना ही कुछ होगा. So these things will be related to these sectors only. History and philosophy are very much correlated because typically philosophy drives the people who are in power, and they only create the history. So, for example, there is different ideas during this period I have listed down. One is pragmatism. It says that truth is about what works best in practice. Uh, अगर आप देखो इसको फैक्ट्रीज या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के संदर्भ में, और विद रिगार्ड टू इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन, what one way to do a job was considered to be sacrosanct. If people have read about, I guess, Herbert's Herbert Simon, or no, sorry, F.W. Taylor. Yeah, F.W. Taylor. If you read, he said that there is should be one best way to do a job. So that is what best works best is that's the only truth. For example, mindfulness helps you reduce stress. If true in practical sense, even we don't understand how it works. matlab, we might sometimes not know how things are working, but still they may be true. And something which works out to be true practically is the truth. Then we have phenomenology, which basically means study of how we experience things from our perspective. मतलब एक इंडिविजुअल कैसे चीज को ऑब्जर्व करके फील करता है, उसको बोलते हैं. इसके इन्होंने एक सनसेट का एग्जांपल दिया. If you see the same sunset, their experiences will be still unique based on the feeling and thoughts. The best example of this is in Mahabharat. If you remember, the five brothers were asked to shoot a bird sitting on a tree. Everybody had different view. uh, Yudhishthira said that I need to be careful that I do not break the branch and it falls down upon an ant colony below. Bhim said that I see a bird, but I also see a very tasty mango next to the bird. And Nakul and Sadev said different things. Only Arjun was the one who said, I only see the eye of the bird. And that basically describing focus. But inherently, what it means was that everybody was experiencing different things. And that's what phenomenology is basically is. Then we come to postmodernism. So we read about modernism, right, where we talked about science and progress and how individualism, empiricism. So postmodernism is basically it is a reaction to modernism, and it says that questions are not only dependent upon facts or factual things, and it also creates upon our own personal meaning. For example, I talked how modernism focused upon universality. So postmodernism thinks that there is no universality in things. Everybody has their own versions of truths or things. For example, Foucault, a lot of passages will come upon him in your Marx or Cat, examine how power influences what we think is true, like how the media shapes public opinion. This is a very classical example in today's sense. Today we have something known as left, right, and center polarization. Now, in this case, this kind of media will make people think ये सही है. This media will make people think ये सही है. ये media तो exist ही नहीं करती. So this is basically what postmodern thinking is all about. So these were the basic Western philosophy of thought. We have gone from before Christ period to most recent 20th century. There are certain other things. So yeah, in this document, there are also civilizational philosophy and other development. For example, ancient India, which I kept on referring even in the Western thought, is there. You can read these on your own. Cat has not asked a passage directly on one of these, but you should practice one or two. I'll tell you how you can do it. What they ask is mixing Oriental or ancient philosophy with Western philosophy and contrasting them. How West is different from ancient, how this civilization's thinking was different from Western civilization. So that they do. Okay, so you can go through this. Uh, I like even I have Christian, Islamic, Roman. There are a few things that I would like to discuss about. Wait, yeah. One is this additional movements in early modern philosophy. Here you read about skeptical philosophy. Skepticism is basically you are a doubtful uncle. आंखें छोटी करके एंड यू नो अजीब सा फेस बना के seeing everything. And so that is basically what skepticism is. Skeptical philosophy focused upon question whether humans can truly know anything with certainty. मतलब सही भी है चीज की नहीं. Basically, if anything is true or not. I would not go much in detail, but this is what basically skepticism is. Then you have scientific revolution, natural philosophy, 16th, 18th century. This coincided with the Renaissance period and post-Renaissance period, and focused on empirical observation, experimentation, challenging classical ideas, same as that. So, yeah, Galileo Galilei, for example. Then this is something I actually did not put it in the main flow. The typical reason was because you will also come across this English literature when we study about it. But I will give you an introduction to what it is. Romanticism is not exactly a philosophy but a movement, and it basically reacted against enlightenment rationality. मतलब typically everything को fact के according या mathematics के according देखना is not correct, and things are beyond their dimensions or size. That's what. So आपने William Wordsworth के बारे में सुना होगा. That was romantic period of poetry. P.B. Shelley. So all of them, daffodils के बारे में उसने पूरी पोएम ही लिख दी. That how they were dancing and all. So that is romantic period, and it was against enlightenment and rationality, and it focused on emotion, imagination, nature. ठीक है. So basically जिनको mathematics नहीं आती थी और science नहीं आती थी ना, they had to do something, and that's why they made romanticism. Marxism we all know about. Marxist Russia, it was critique of capitalism and how it said that democracy or even bureaucracy only helped capitalists or those who own businesses make money, and the poorer got poorer and the richer got richer. It focused on classless society, like a society where everything is owned by the state, and all of us are in actually working for the state or do not have ownership of anything, and thus there is no rich, no poor, and that's why there will be no class. Karl Marx is the most famous thinker. You can just read about it. This is important. What is positivism? Positivism was it's a, I would call it kind of a subset of empiricism, but positivism focuses excessively on facts and dismissed metaphysical. Metaphysical वो चीजें होती हैं which you cannot see, observe or record. Feelings, emotions. So there are a lot of people who are very sometimes you say pragmatic, practical, not ideal but practical, pragmatic, rational. That is exactly positivism, only based on facts. For example, यहाँ पे भी before starting our cat series, and I analyzed all the cat RCs of previous years, presented which topic were visited frequently by the examiner, and then we began, and even I designed my course, right? So that is what is positivism. I ever basically am emphasizing on observable facts. So this is important. And this one thing I would like you to know about is structuralism and post-structuralism. You can read about analytical philosophy on your own. It's not very important. See, basically, whenever say you are a writer or you're an author, what you write should be analyzed from your perspective of what you have written. That is structuralism. That I will not do any further unnecessary interpretation of what you have write. What you write, you meant it, and that is what structuralism is. So grand narratives were built during this period. Uh, Whereas post-structuralism was that whatever you are writing or narratives that you are giving have to be analyzed from the reader's perspective, and I can make my own judgments according to it. Or I can critique you, or I can, even find out narrow patterns in your writings and find out about you and say how you only contradict yourself. So that is what post-structuralism is about: multiplicity of narratives, and structuralism is about the narrative given by the author. So this is typically used in literature more. For example, yeah, this particular thinker, he had developed a deconstruction to question the stability of meaning in text and ideas. So whatever you mean, whether you are truly a believer of that or your hidden or latent feelings suggest otherwise. That is what basically structuralism and post-structuralism is. Just need to know, not much. So yeah, this was mostly about philosophy. Now we shall move to what I say is ethics. Wait, just give me a second. Yeah. So first, let us study what exactly is ethics. And matlab, we just study philosophy. And how is philosophy different from ethics? So, in very simple word, ethics is one application of philosophy. When you have to choose between what is morally right and morally wrong. And you use philosophy sometimes for that. That's why you'll see many of these topics repeat. But here, for example, it says that imagine a traveler is standing at a crossroad, unsure of which path to take. Philosophy will help you understand why do crossroad exists, what is the nature of the choice, why do I have to make a choice, whether the choice that I'll make is correct or not depends upon ethics. Ethics, however, focuses upon immediate dilemma. Which path should I take to do the right thing? So this is very important for you to know. Skepticism वाले तो ये भी बोल देंगे कि am I even capable of choosing the path? So that's typically what ethics and philosophy are, and that's how we differentiate them. So there are major schools of ethics: Western philosophy. Eastern is often referred to as Oriental. This word is very important. Oriental means Eastern cultures are often called Oriental cultures, and this was there in one passage in I guess 2022. And many people didn't know the meaning इसका मतलब क्या है. But if you are comfortable with this ना, if they use the word oriental, you'll typically get to know कि oriental is more about society, nature, collective consciousness over individualism, materialism. So over these oriental cultures focus more upon this. आप खुद ही सोच लो ना, what Indian, if you make ID card of Indian society, so what will you write? That we are harmony among society is important, then kinship is very important. So these things you write. So that is what Oriental culture is all about. So you have, and contemporary is today's. So in today's terms, there is environmental ethics, biomedical ethics. Ki you are researching upon mice, whether it's right. They are also animals. According to Jainism, they also have soul. They will also feel cheated, and you are experimenting on them. Environmental ethics is सबसे climate change. This is very. I guess it came also in that technology and AI. For example, I talked about centenality. Now, if or AI biasness. Recently, there have been so many declarations on safety, security of AI. You had the Asilomar AI principles on ethics. A passage can come on it. Also, contemporary ethics, you have feminism, feministic ethics, where you can talk about abortion rights, universal suffrage, or glass ceiling effect. These all things. What I feel is that this is most important in case of ethics, contemporary ethical concerns, because other than that, you will read most of these in your philosophy as well only. But typically, you require contemporary ethics. So there are some key ideas. I'll not go through them, but I will just tell you a basic concept. So virtue ethics is ancient Greece and Rome, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They talked about what ideal man is, what ideal life is, what are the values that you have: courage, justice, temperance, prudence. These things you can read. Very normal. So these are important because these are clear differentiating. So ancient, for example, what a Confucian was a thinker of ancient China, and that's why this ethics is rooted in relationship of societal harmony. See, these are Oriental cultures, emphasizing virtues like respect, benevolence. Example: a ruler should lead by moral example to inspire ethical behavior in subjects. Same was said by whom? Kautilya in his Arthashastra, where he said, "Yatha Raja Tatha Praja," like the king, like the subjects. So if the king is immoral, subjects will be moral. Then you have hedonism. Hedonism is a very good concept. It says "खाओ पियो ऐश करो" concept. Uh, its goal of life is to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. Focus on intellectual long-term pleasure rather than immediate gratification. This is what typically Hinduism is, but a stream of Hinduism also says "खाओ पियो ऐश करो." That is Indian Hinduism, which we call as Charvak philosophy. But actually, Hinduism means saying happy. Now, Epicurus says happiness comes from limiting materialistic pleasures, but that is and enjoying simple pleasure. But happiness is very subjective. You all are preparing for this exam to get material benefits. So Indian Hinduism is what, or what you call Charvak philosophy, is खाओ पियो ऐश करो. It's I have mentioned it over here, I guess. Yeah, Indian materialism or Hinduism. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we shall die. Charvak thought. Then you can read about this on your own. Buddhist ethics is very important. Uh, Sorry, it's not important from a cat's perspective, but important for you to know, because when you're comparing, Oriental cultures, you can use or try to link with this and also answer your questions. Then you have Jain ethics focusing on ahimsa, anekantvad, more than one dialogue. So these you can read on your own. I don't think so. Kantian ethics is very important because they can have a passage. Cat can have a passage on it. So typically, you can read from here that what it says is that moral actions are determined by duty and universal principles. Morality is following the rules or the duty that you have to do, and not the outcomes. So there are, Kant ke there are deontology or categorical imperatives. It basically says that, for example, deontology is says that you must do things duty which is given to you, and you must follow the rules. And in doing this, if whatever the outcome, it's fine. Categorical imperative is so this deontology works at operational and tactical level, like lower level workers or lower level employees. Categorical imperative is for strategic planning. It basically says that whatever decision that you take, if say that decision or what action can be universalized, then it is ethical. If it is right in a ideal world where nobody will be harmed by your actions, and if nobody's rights will be impacted by your action, then that is right. So categorical imperatives is at a strategic level, that is higher level or top management, which you all should be doing in future course of your life. And the other deontology is on day-to-day basis. Then utilitarianism, we talked about Bantham and Milia, that greatest happiness for greatest number of people. We talked about existentialism, Sartre, that we life derives meaning from some purpose. Then feminist ethics is important. You have Carol Gilligan, ethics of care. भी बोलते हैं इनका, that even like taking care of the needy or taking care of someone is the most ethical thing to do. You also have thinkers like Camilla Stevers. They were not ethical thinkers, but they were movement people of the feminist movement. Who worked for equal pay, equal wages, and women in administration. You have thinkers like MP Follett. So these were also there. And the core idea is that ethics is relational, emphasizes on care, empathy, context of moral decisions rather than universal principles. So it was a critique on male-centered ethics. आप देखो ना कोई भी ethical quotation also, it says man, uses the word man a lot. For example, I read one quotation that I read that a machine can do work of 100 ordinary men, but no machine can do work of one extraordinary man. So यहाँ पे man और men पे stress दिया है ना. So that is what this is male centric, and male centricity also comes from the various ethical dilemmas that were posed. Either in say a battlefield or while taking big political decisions. So they all focused upon that, which is also male centric. तो यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल है, मदर प्रायोरिटाइजिंग केयर ऑफ हर चाइल्ड इन मॉरली कॉम्प्लेक्स सिचुएशन हाईलाइट्स द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ रिलेशनशिप इन एथिक्स. अभी मॉम को अपने बेबी की प्रोटेक्शन के लिए शी हैज टू से harm someone. A lot of ethical thinkers will say this is wrong. So we have talked about postmodernism. Environmental ethics is very important. Definitely passages come on this in CAT, that I focus more on CAT, but it will sell about, and इस पे comparison they can also do comparison between ancient and oriental culture, ancient and oriental cultures on one side, मतलब basically Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Mayan civilization or Southeast Asian cultures on one side, and Western culture on the other, जो environment को as a source for extraction देखते हैं West. So वैसे उससे they can even compare it. respect and sustainability. ठीक है. And modern Western thinking, they are trying to imbibe some of the ancient and Oriental thinking of environment. So you will see a lot of discourse on climate change actually coming from modern Western thinkers and countries. So but the typical Western culture is about extraction, individualism, and not greed exactly, but capitalistic nature, ownership of resources. So that's all. So that is seen as against the environment. These are environmental ethics. So yeah, these are some things which are very important for you to know. And now based on this, I'll show you how to use ChatGPT to actually be successful in this whole endeavor of preparation. So yeah, I have given three examples in this, but I'll also show you live. For example, I gave a prompt to ChatGPT, create a RC type passage on philosophical topic, Stoicism. So I gave a prompt, create a cat type RC passage on philosophical topic of Stoicism. So you can replace this word Stoicism with anything that we have studied upper. I'll have provided Excel also, and you'll get a good passage. Uh, Now, in typically ChatGPT also gives questions and answers. Like it will give you four questions, and but I say first your aim should be to read these passages and कोई एक दो question solve कर लो, because I really don't think so we can trust ChatGPT that blindly. But you can try out a few questions definitely. For the second prompt I gave is create a RC passage on philosophical topic Stoicism, linking it with some contemporary development. So you see over here, उसने it has linked it with something known as cognitive behavioral therapy, which जिस पे research हो रही है, modern philosopher, and that's what it has done. Then I gave create a cat RC passage on philosophical topic Stoicism, refuting it with modern theories. Basically drawing a contrast between this and some modern theories. Make a passage intricate to read. This will make the passage difficult. You can also use words like use some heavy philosophical vocabulary, something like that. So you read about this, and यहाँ पे उन लोगों ने it has presented a lot of critiques. यहाँ पे you can read. So these are good readings. It's a little long passage, but yeah. I'll also show you in action how these things are actually working. So if we go back to our PPT, because I guess that is done. So that was it from my side for teaching these. I will attach it on the drive. For now, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is a practice Excel that I have made. So if you click on this, it will open an Excel sheet for you. I will attach this also as well in the drive, and you can download. So this will be for all. So as in when I keep on add teaching, I will add more sheets to it. So these are all the topics or philosophical ideas that I had listed or I had taught recently, right now in my PDS. And then there is I have then you can there is this thing cat RC practice or read. So if you have read it or if you have practiced it, then you can put a yes on it. I don't expect you to do all 31 of them, but say you give a week to philosophy and ethics, and every day you do two, read two, so you can easily cover 14 of them. So in totality, if you cover 14 of philosophy and ethics, it will be more than enough. So, and to be honest, you don't even need to answer the questions for most of them. Just read the passage and understand what you mean. And I have also written some prompts for ChatGPT. So you have to use ChatGPT, of course, for making the passages, and you can go to the prompts that I have written over here. So I'll show you one good prompt on ChatGPT in its working, so that we can actually uh, read it. I won't read it, but I can actually show you how it actually makes it. Wait. This is typically, as I said, contrasting Oriental ethics with Western ethics. And I've written use heavy vocabulary and make passage intricate to solve. Intricate is difficult. So if I copy this, yeah, and now I go to Google Chrome. So this is my ChatGPT. I'm very thankful to my friend. He is an NMIMS for granting me the access to the pro version, but you can simply do this using the normal version as well. There are certain GPTs such as Scholar GPT which will create better RCs that they claim. I feel this is more than enough, but thank you, Sankalp Taneja, for giving me this access. So basically, what I have to write is this thing: create a cat type RC passage contrasting Oriental ethics with Western ethics, use heavy vocabulary, and make passage intricate to solve. I Yeah, sorry, actually, my internet had snapped. Uh, yeah, we just need PASSAG. Yeah, fine. So let us see what it does. Yeah, so either you can read from the, I guess they call this as canvas, or you can just cross this and read from here. So if we just expand it in the canvas, you can see it creates a distinction between Oriental and Western ethical frameworks. If not only geographical dichotomy, but a profound divergence in the conceptuality of morality and human condition. As I said, that morality of Western is individualistic, more cosmopolitan, more extractive as compared to Oriental cultures. The Oriental paradigm, deeply steeped in metaphysical introspection, tends to emphasize the collective and spiritual and the transcendental. Transcendental is like which soul, basically soul. You can see how it's worded, and if you read the whole thing, it will give you a different RC for everybody. But if you are in a group, you can one person can make an RC and share it with friends, and then it keeps on comparing, and you can read it. It has not given questions, but you can even ask it to give some make four questions, right? Cat style, make four cat style questions on above passage. I say your focus should be more upon reading rather than solving questions. Yeah, so you can see the question here. Which of the following best describes the primary focus of the passage? Superiority of Western ethics over the Oriental ethics, historical development of ethical framework in different regions, etc., etc. So you can answer these. But I say your main focus should be on uh, reading the whole topic. Uh, yeah. So this was it from my side for today. I have just a small recap. We studied about philosophy, different philosophical eras, thinkers in each era, and basic thought of philosophy. Then we studied about ethics, differentiating between philosophy and ethics, some ethical principles, and ethical, contemporary relevance of ethics. As I said, it's more important for cat. And we also studied about what is more important for cat. If you see in my Excel as well that I'll be attaching, I have highlighted some of the, you know, philosophical and ethical ideas, and I've bolded them. So they are more important from your paper's perspective, and you can prioritize them while practicing your RC. Then I also showed you how you can use ChatGPT, and I have provided you with certain prompts in your Excel as well as in the PDF. So now ideally you should read two passages. If you can make it three, it will be very good. But two passages from what I have shared with you, and then in a week you can do about 14 from this topic, and then next week you can move to the other things that we have to study for via mastering RC. So for this week you can focus on philosophy and ethics. So total 14 passages that if you do, it will be more than enough. Thank you so much, and have a great day ahead. Just a short note, guys, I forgot to mention. uh, I'll just show you how applicable these things are. Yeah, if you wait, yeah. I was talking about modernism, and here you can see Sigmund Freud and what he says: explode the unconscious mind and how it shapes the behavior. So I'll show you a passage in which was asked in ZAT 2023. Just wait, I have it open. Yeah, it's there in ZAT 2023. And if you read this passage, it's about Marx and Freud only, and how if you read the modern style of interpretation, it excavates and it destroys and digs, finds behind the text to find a subtext which is the true one. The most celebrated and influential modern doctrines, those of Marx and Freud, actually amount to elaborate system of whatever I can't pronounce it. That is aggressive and impious theories of interpretation, which basically is looking at the unconscious mind or what is beneath inner thoughts, which whole passage also further explains. The manifest content, all observable phenomena are bracketed in Freud's phrase as manifest content. That is, the content which is visible is kept aside, uh, pushed aside, and latent content beneath, that is the hidden part, is to be analyzed. So if you had known a little bit about modernist or Freud's uh, um, theory of unconscious mind, you would have been able to relate, and this passage would have become a little easier for you, right? And similarly, in the same paper, if we go further below, this is Socrates on procrastination, so that's not related much, but there is a very good topic on this thing, which is environmental ethics. So it talks about globalization, it talks about climate change, it talks about free market economy, how capitalism has pushed individualism on top of our agenda. We have become extractive. Nature is now seen as a commodity. So all that. Thus, this would also have become easier to read. So yeah, that was about it. So this is ZAT 2023. So this is being used for more than more than one kind of paper. So it will be used in CAT as well as that. But I may basically focus on CAT. Yeah. So thank you.